we'll
Oh,
get ready to
wow,
rock and
video.
roll.
Rock away.
Okay, meeting is now in order.
Can I have any completed?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you got it.
No.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. I guess
The squiggly line is
the fence.
what I'm proposing, that, yes. The,
This is existing and this
Yes.
is new.
yes,
All right, do I have a,
Wait, do we have a picture of what is
Yeah.
existing? Or only?
Yes.
Right here.
Oh, okay.
This is a fence that we reviewed a number of years ago for the previous property owner.
Okay. Oh, and it just stopped.
It's just in the rear, it stops. This used to have, for your own thinking, this had a retaining wall. And then during one of the hurricanes, this is a really important thing for you to know.
is that
During one
yours?
of the hurricanes a few years ago, a drain, there
Okay.
is a diverted stream that goes underground in the woods and goes
Oh.
under our block. What used to go under block, now it goes through the street. But that stream, during the hurricane, trees blocked where it should have gone underground. And this entire backyard was like a bathtub. It pushed down the retaining wall and there was water.
and then
Almost.
the basement flooded, I heard that basement
Right.
flooded out completely.
So they had trouble over the years without that retaining wall. They had trouble with that slope. So I don't know, are you planning to go on the slope or down
No,
here?
down
Oh,
at the
down
base
here,
of
so
the
you should
slope.
be.
Okay, do I have a secret determination?
I move that it is a type 2 application needing no further environmental review.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Hold on. Another-
Yep, there's more right here. The only, hi, it's hopping in this room.
Yeah.
The only modification I would make, just so that your documentation is clear for the building inspector, the property line is actually here.
Oh, really, okay. It's just-
Here's that where it's pin and cap set, the property line's here,
I
so
see.
this fence exists actually down
There,
here.
okay.
And, you have there's a shed right here or something,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm. There it is.
So if you want.
Can I have this? No?
Yeah,
Or you're
sure.
doing it?
Sure, we have extras, you can take that.
But I
You can
mean,
just show it
so
to
that
Al,
you,
so he can copy it onto
Yeah.
his
Wait.
version.
what is the
I
right
need to-
side? Oh, this
Here's
is-
your, the street is here, and this structure, here's your structure and your porch. And then where it says property pin cap set, that's where
Oh,
it's
But
a
wait,
strange.
so is it actually not a straight
fence-
line?
It is in a straight line, but if you'll see, there's in the back slope, here's the fence to my backyard.
Yeah.
The property line comes down way down here. So it doesn't come up. Oh, perhaps maybe that is
No.
correct, because it says now or formerly culvert here. No, that's correct, it's correct, because it's giving you the current property line with Shields and us. You're right, no change
Okay.
needed, you're good.
All right, now, I guess the shed in the image
mm-hmm.
is where? Is here,
Yeah,
right there.
right in that corner.
And that was not reviewed. No, you're good. What the previous owners put that in, and I
Okay.
think that the building inspector deemed that not visible from the public right of way. It wasn't referred.
Okay, what is the fence extension to be? In other words, what kind of fence is it?
Similar to the fencing
To
that's
match
there.
existing.
So hopefully it'll match. I mean, I'm a little worried about the color matching, but, it'll look like the existing fence.
Is the existing fence cedar? Or
That's
is
a
it,
good question. I
it's
think
kind of hard
it
to
is.
tell from the photo. If it's,
I'm sure,
It's wood.
it's
It's
wood, it's
wooden,
not
it's a-
pressure treated wood.
I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
so,
I don't
no,
think so.
I don't think so, cause pressure, it has the, I'm sorry, it has those little marks in it, pressure treated, I don't think it's pressure treated wood, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay, anybody have any other questions concerning the application?
Nope.
No, I think it's fine. I guess I just have I don't know if it really necessarily pertains to us, but just for the building inspector, is the run that you're putting in, is it gonna have any gates in it, or is it
No.
just gonna be, okay,
It's just gonna go flat up against
to the corner of the house?
the corner of the house there, at the base of that little slope.
Cause you have a gate here already.
Yes,
Okay, great.
So it's actually,
And is there a gate in the back?
there,
Yeah, I was just looking.
there
at
is a
that.
gate, I have to.
Well,
find
Or is it
it
just a
doesn't look like a
removable-
gate, it looks like a removable panel.
It swings,
It swings?
yes.
Okay.
wow, that's a
Big gate.
that's a big gate.
We're talking about this here.
Oh, that, okay. Yeah, I'm not really quite sure what that's about, but there are hinges on either side, and that, it does not swing. It just, you're right, that is a removable panel.
Probably so they could get behind to maintain.
But I thought that's your property
Well,
there,
there's
right?
maybe 3 feet between the fence and the edge, so
Okay.
I bet they left that so they could, because originally the retaining wall came to
Got it.
here. So
Got
you
it.
couldn't walk back there as easily as you can now.
I had wondered why that was like that.
It was a strange way to be left, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and sometimes people do it so that if they ever need to get equipment into the yard, they
Sure.
can.
So there's a gate, the gate that swings is right here.
Is the existing gate, okay.
Yeah, right there, current gate.
Okay, do I have a motion concerning the application as submitted?
I would move to approve the application as submitted.
I would second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
So since this is your first time through the process here, what happens now is Al takes the application and he processes it and produces it's called the certificate of
Certificate of
appropriateness.
appropriateness.
That goes to the building inspector and to the clerk, and that office then issues your building permit to put up
Okay,
your
and
fence.
so they'll get in touch with me and.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great, thank you.
Awesome.
It was very nice meeting all of you.
Nice
Good to
meeting
meet
you,
you
welcome.
too, welcome.
Thank you,
Oh, here's the folder.
especially you, my neighbor.
Well, see you soon.
I know. I was embarrassed you knew my dog's name from me yelling at her.
Well, now with the fence, you won't have to yell.
Right. Thank you very much.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay, here's your
Alright, so
folder.
You can hang on to this because usually I
I've
do
defaced
keep.
it?
No, I keep track of
So if you
what
can
what
fight the throngs
certificates
of
of
the public who are
appropriateness, and
here,
this
you're
is-
up.
This is kind of easy to remember, I got
Yeah.
one.
How are you?
Not too bad.
Nice to see you. I'm Don
Hey,
Van Tassel.
John.
How
Nice
are
to see you.
I'll grab that to make a folder.
So, I have a packet from Justin Caker from Howard Architecture. I did not kill anybody today, I had a red stain on them, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not yet. I
And then you had yourself absolved.
mean, yeah, I'm not happy about my ash. I have forced that. So, the reason I stopped in and requested to be on the agenda is to have our lights reviewed for the front of the building. As you can see, light H, which is the first one, would be in 3 locations, outside the front door as well as the side door, which would be the east side, the exit. And then there's the next light is light J, which would be outside the back of the building, just for lighting in the rear of the building. And then the third light choice that we have is K, which goes on the east side of the building, also under the fire escape, or it's really not a fire escape, the staircase that's enclosed on the east side of the building, which is remaining. The temporary or the steel staircase that's on the west side of the building is
That's
coming
what's
down.
coming down.
That one's coming
Yay.
down. And that door that's on that, coming out of there is gonna be replaced with a window, which matches the rest of the windows. And
So
then-
that you were saying today, or maybe it was Justin, one of you was explaining that this is actually under,
Yeah, you won't even see
you
it.
can't even see it from the
They're not
public right
visible,
away
correct.
on the staircase.
And I guess you wanted a copy of the doors, what the doors are gonna look like, so he provided an elevation of the doors. Door A is the exterior door, which matches exactly what's there. And door B is the interior one, so when you come into the floor, that's the interior set that would
Yeah.
open into the clerk's offices.
I guess my question is,
Uh-huh.
because nobody has talked to us at all about this project.
Nope,
No,
we
yes.
did review a set, they're back here.
Yeah, you had a complete review.
Well, not a review, we had Richard sent us drawings and we reviewed them and sent comments back to them, which is why I asked to get an update on the door while
Okay.
John was coming in. Remember that the town attorney, determined that they are exempt
Right.
from review, and the village, I don't know that the village attorney concurred, but that's where things were left.
Well, I guess then are you looking for essentially advice?
Basically, I'm here as a courtesy, first of all, and I wanted some input from you guys, your expertise on the lighting. Justin selected these. I'm sure we could alter it or change it to something else, and this is what he's come up with. We've been very happy and successful with Justin in the past with the building behind it, with the building department, so that's where we rely on him quite strongly.
The only feedback I had looking at it, I mean, Justin, when we talked on the phone, explained that you were trying to capture a sort of a gaslight look
Right.
on the front of the
That's what
building.
was on there originally, I believe.
Right. The only thought I had was on the rear set,
Mhm.
the north side of the building, that you've chosen a white finish. We don't have any purview over color within the bounds of the district, or down here. But my thought was that, just that a metal finish might be more in keeping with what you're selecting to put on the front. It does have a
You did put
graphite
a,
and metallic.
Sure. Transfer your attention.
Yeah, sure. Red.
So you're thinking graphite or metallic?
Well, I was thinking a metal finish
Something
in keeping
similar
with
to
what's
the
in front, but also just thinking about the fact that it's a public building that doesn't get cleaned down in the way that
Right.
houses do, right?
Sure.
So a white light with that shape is
I
gonna
think,
collect crap.
His point was that matches the ones that are on the building department building, and I think that's why he
Oh,
went
I
with
see.
white, because the ones on that building are the same and it faces that building. I think that's why he did it, but I'm sure
Can
you.
still do my recommendation.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that by using a metal color as opposed to like this white, it's gonna make it look less like a, like one of those just like security lights
Okay.
that you have to
And that's easy.
light up a parking lot, and it
Yeah.
will relate a little bit more to the building.
Sure.
And as far as the one in the front is concerned, I mean, it relates to, or seems to relate based on this little photo that we have to what was there before.
Well, we actually did find gas lighting, there's gas piping in the building, so we're assuming.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. But the lights on there now are,
No,
those
no,
were
they're
always electric, right? They weren't modified yet. That's interesting.
And Sean, when,
Where was the gas coming from? We don't have.
There's gas piping still in the wall, when they open the walls up, there's gas piping and valves, so. it's-
Right,
Yeah.
but we don't have a gas
manufactured
source.
gas plant
No, it must-
was down here at the waterfront, and it got pumped up.
They used to have.
The other thing is, we took the drop ceiling down, I was telling Kathleen, we took the drop ceiling down on the second floor, and above it, about 6 or 8 feet higher, was this amazing tin ceiling.
Wow.
So glad that you found it.
And we've chosen to restore it, so originally it was gonna be just a drop ceiling again, but, you know, all the new air conditioning ductwork, the new air conditioning air handlers were all hung underneath of this tin ceiling, so we had to pay to relocate them. They're pushed back over the judge's chambers.
Mm.
And we're restoring the old ceiling back to its original, I mean, it's,
Was
anytime if you guys wanna go up and take a look at it, I told Kathleen we could, you know, get a quick shot upstairs.
That's
Around
so great.
One day this week or next week, whenever you have a moment, you can show it.
And I are both in the village during the week.
Okay.
Is it, and it didn't have a ton of drill
It
spots in
did,
it?
but
Oh, you,
it's so high, and it's painted, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be back to what it was, but, and it's so high up that they're gonna like bondo it
Cool.
and replace it, because they're not doing the lower ceiling.
right, right.
So now they can do this upper ceiling. The biggest challenge was to relocate, you know, all the
Sure.
air conditioning
I
ductwork.
Yeah,
know that upped
sure.
your
So
price
the
quite a
dais,
bit.
the new dais is gonna be ductwork underneath of that, and then it's
Smart.
all overhead, cause there's still another attic above that.
Okay.
Above that ceiling,
Yeah.
there's another one, because of the mansard roof was also high.
And did you find evidence of the fabled roller rink?
There's roller skates in the basement.
Stop!
There was roller skates, I think they saved some, there was all roller skates in the basement. And we also exposed an amazing hardwood floor
I
that was
bet.
underneath that carpeting, and we're gonna restore that as well, so.
Nice.
It's gonna be a beautiful
Wow.
room, so when you sit at the dais now, you're gonna actually be able to look out to
Out.
Main Street again, because that foyer is gonna be opened up. and
Mhm.
you're gonna
Bathroom
be able to
moves
right
and
out.
all that stuff.
It's
Nice.
gorgeous.
I was just trying to find, maybe I put it in my phone faster than Al, but, what we have sent as feedback to them, if you wanted to.
The exterior of the building is gonna look identical to what it does now, basically excluding the staircase on the, west side of the building.
I think the only thing that I remember talking about was we just had a question about the frosting. One of the windows was gonna be frosted
That's
on
what
the
I had
front
asked you about.
elevation.
Yeah, so
And
here's
it's-
we had said, just to refresh everybody's memory, thank you for sending them down, da-da-da, you asked for feedback. It looks as if you bid the project out for wood siding and trim first, then identified Boral as the alternate, or Boral, as the alternate product for the bid. The property owner at the Kemble House recently proposed the 8-inch lap siding for Boral for the addition on that house, and later asked to modify the material because the 8-inch siding was no longer in production. Have you been able to source it if you plan to use it? That's the first question. The notes indicate obscured glass on the first floor windows on the primary facade. We encourage you not to use obscured glass on the primary facade, as it will have a large impact on the character of this most significant portion of the building. The modifications that will be seen through the windows, a staircase, and the elevator lobby are part of the building's story and evolution over time. The public will see an historic building modified for functionality and use in an era when we consider things like accessibility, and those changes are allowing us to keep our historic town hall functioning for all of us to enjoy. Will the glass in the first floor bathrooms be obscured? And then, the primary doors are replacements, and your proposed doors seem to be modeled on them. Have you considered using a door configuration more like the original doors? Ideally, the new doors would be more reflective of the originals. So that was the feedback we gave.
Right, and I spoke to you, that window is frosted currently, the existing window is frosted, and the new one, we had already ordered the windows, we've had them for, a year now, so. they're-
Well, and it was, it's hard to actually tell that it's
Right.
obscured, it just looked dirty, it just looked dirty.
No, because that was the bad, that's the one, well, the men's are men and ladies room, so they were
Right.
frosted for years.
So the elevator's on the inside.
Yeah, everything's inside, there's nothing on the outside. Actually, it was a huge expense right after the elevator pit, and we had to go 4 feet below the floor for the mechanics. We opened up the existing floor and it was a solid rock right
Yeah.
there. And it took them, I think it was a $17,000 alternate to get the rock out of it.
They did it by hand?
They did it with the jackhammer, yeah, by hand, they put the equipment in there. They
Yeah.
actually tried drilling and putting some chemical in the holes,
Uh-huh.
and it did nothing, whatever they
Wow.
used did nothing.
So was the basement originally an auditorium, or what was it used for?
The basement is, there's just a basement on one side, on the west side of the building, there's a basement, the rest of it's all crawl space.
So the roller skating happened in the big hall upstairs.
Oh, it was
Second.
upstairs.
The skates
Oh,
were
wow.
still- Actually, Betty Budden said she.
That's where I remembered hearing it, was Betty Budney remembering roller
skating
skating.
out there, because it was the rec center. so-
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, So in reality, all we're really looking at is H and J,
Correct.
because
Well, K is kind of hard to
K
see.
is
The other one you're
really not
gonna see.
visible.
Right, right.
Although it is a nice looking light.
That seems good too.
Take it.
Yeah. But actually, leave it there, I just wanna take a look at it. I guess the question is, what are we suggesting as far as the finish on J?
I was suggesting that it be a
Metallic.
metallic finish, like
To
what
match
is
what's,
proposed for H.
right.
I mean, they're not gonna be exactly next to each other, so it doesn't matter that it's exactly the same, it looks like it's a bronze or something.
Well, which one is it?
The front is, I checked with Justin, it is the plain bronze one, not the old bronze or weathered zinc. That's what he's proposing.
So there's a bronze in this, in a porcelain finish,
Right.
and then there's a natural metal that look as if they'd be shinier. These metals look, I mean, who knows, printed, but it looks like they're more matte.
That's fine, so,
But these natural metals are, they're probably not PVD finishes, so they'll age.
True,
So the shininess will
wear down.
wear down after.
Well, it depends on whether or not it's sealed. I mean, typically,
well, it's the north side of the building too.
Well, and these colors are brass and copper, and they're gonna draw even more attention to the fixture, I think. That would be my inclination.
Well, you don't, they don't have to be selected tonight, I mean, they're not even close to this, but, you know, the wiring is going in the walls, but as far as hanging the lights or purchasing the lights, we're not there yet. So if you want some time to think about it.
I don't have any hesitation about it, other than that.
Yeah, and I don't, and as far as the shape, I mean, the shapes of all of them are fine. I think it would just be a matter of,
and this matches the, what's on the,
The building part,
right.
the shape.
The shape.
That's what you said.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody have any other comments?
yeah, just so as far as the door is concerned, I guess it sounds like we don't know whether the door, we have no
Well, how does the door that's
better idea of what the door originally looks like. I mean, I don't think that this door seems out of character, but
I forgot to, was gonna bring with me tonight the historic image that I have of the door, and I did not bring it with me. You don't have it electronically, do you?
I do not, no.
where was
But these are already ordered?
They're there.
They're here.
Okay, well, if the light fixtures are the old bronze, that would probably be the best thing, because, well, yeah, I'm just looking at the hardware, and the hardware is all dark bronze. So at least it matches
Okay.
what's going on.
Oh, you mean on the doors? Okay,
The
great.
big distinction with the, I mean, it's the point is moot if they're ordered, but the big distinction with the original doors is that they had no lights, they had no glass.
Oh, you mean prior to the ones that are there?
I mean,
now?
the original doors,
The original
yeah,
doors.
they were solid.
But
Oh,
I think that would make that.
Well, but I
very,
think
very dark, too.
Well, we're in a different era where you want,
Right,
as presumably you wanna see who's coming in the building.
yeah, I feel like from a
yeah.
functionality standpoint,
Yeah.
that's not exactly.
Yeah, don't, because I want to take a look at it after we're finished here.
Oh, okay, I'll just set it back here so it's out of the way.
So you're saying old bronze instead of the bronze, that's also.
Well, it's either old bronze or weathered zinc, so it's either the, bronze color or gray.
Right.
And since the hardware is all bronze, it might as well
Matching, sure.
be all consistent.
And then you've got a
Okay.
bronze, you've got a bronze on this
And
one.
then we'll go with the bronze on the other one as well.
This It feels very nautical.
And then those you don't see.
You don't see. Cool.
Alright.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay,
Great.
And the offer stands if you wanna come up and see the building inside, just give me a holler. I'm usually around during the day.
By when are you? How
Rescinding that
long?
offer.
Well, just-
It's a standing offer, I mean, anytime you wanna
I
go
just wanna
see,
see it before it gets too far.
yeah, anytime you wanna see the progress, and just let me know, and we'll
Cool.
take you upstairs. So.
What are you gonna do with the roller skate?
I hope they're still down there. I was down there the other day, and I don't remember seeing them, but I think somebody tucked them away somewhere. That the
Okay.
basement's still, you want a pair of rollers?
Just the historical society should have a pair.
Well, that's a good thought.
Yeah.
That's a good thought. All right, we'll dig them out, if they're still there. Hopefully they are.
Or the history museum, sorry, not
Okay.
historical society.
Absolutely. All right.
all right,
Cool.
thank you.
All set. Thank you very much.
Take care.
See you soon.
Yeah.
Maybe we can go on a trophy case at Halloween or something.
We have-
Oh, yeah, that's a cool idea. Okay, we'll stick it in the file.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
Have a
so
good
much.
night.
Have a good night, John.
Okay, what's next?
John's got the agenda.
Discussion of, I guess I would move to relay our wish to appoint him to the Board of Trustees. Do they have to approve the approval?
The mayor does. The
Yeah.
mayor,
And the village
And the
board of
village board.
trustees will appoint them. I would prefer that what we do is that we advertise the opening and then take a vote on this at the regular meeting.
in X number of weeks.
Yeah,
I realized after we had the back and forth today that the anxiety we originally had was because Sean wasn't here, but now with Sean back, we have 4 again, so it's less.
I think it'll just be additional insurance and, I think,
I was concerned about transparency.
yeah.
So then, do
I
you
will-
wanna post,
I will send an email to Jeff, probably this evening,
You'll do that, okay?
asking him to post it on the village website as well as put it in the paper.
okay,
And that anybody who's interested has to have their applications in on March 16th.
Well, if it's March 16th, then we can't,
yeah, I mean,
that's tight.
I would suggest that people get it in by the 11th, and then on the 11th, when we have a meeting.
16th, I mean,
Well, the
The
16th is a
16th
totally arbitrary day, why are you choosing the 16th?
The meeting's the 11th.
that's, our meeting's on the 11th?
Yeah,
So why,
Okay.
the
It's
16th
the
is a
second-
Monday.
It's the second
Wednesday
Wednesday.
is March 11th.
Yeah.
4th and 11th. Okay, on the
30 days,
11th.
that's
So
November.
right now, we are at, the PCNR's deadline is Monday at 10. That would put the advertisement in on Wednesday the 4th. That gives a period of a week for
A
people to
week,
apply.
which I think is fine, and,
And it could go in
we'll
the
have
current,
them,
it could go
we'll
in the
have them
current
put it on the
Friday.
website.
We don't need to because
Some-
it's not paper record. We don't have to pay for an ad in the current.
We'll have them put it on the website starting tomorrow.
Do you want it in the current as well?
Well, I'm just thinking if we actually want people to be able to see it,
Yeah.
then we could put it in the current on the 28th and the 6th, and it could be in the PCR on the 4th, and it could be on the website, and that's 4 placements before the application is due. I mean, I think there is opportunity to get it out there.
Realistically,
You won't have 4. You'll have, today is the next deadlines. Today is the 26th. The deadline for both papers are Monday and Tuesday. That puts you to the 2nd and 3rd.
Oh, I thought we could do.
And then
I
they
thought we
would
could do
print
it
on
this week.
Friday the 6th and Wednesday, it won't print until Wednesday the 11th. That's what I'm saying, it's gonna bump you ahead another.
Yeah.
Because their we're now so late in February that if you advertise it, it will print on, it'll print Wednesday the 4th. Print Wednesday the 4th,
Okay.
it should be 1 week,
1 week.
which
And
I
it would
think is
print, if you
fine.
want it in the current, it would print on Friday the 6th.
On Friday the 6th.
So I'll take care of that tomorrow.
Okay. So
both
people
papers.
need to get their applications into Jeff by,
The
Close
11th.
of business the
We'll
10th.
say, well, okay, or the morning of the 11th.
Noon
well,
the
it's really
3rd.
just a matter of whether or not we know by the time we meet on the 11th if any applications. Obviously, if we get an application at, 5 p.m. on the 11th, it will just let us know that
Someone's interested.
someone's
Yeah.
interested. I mean, we're not gonna be able to move forward and everything.
Why not?
Because if somebody,
If someone
how would
applies, you
we-
give them the
we're gonna
courtesy of
get interviews
interviewing
from
them.
Are we?
Okay,
If by the time we meet on Wednesday the 11th, we have received no applications of interest, we will proceed with the individual that we have already spoken to. If we do have applications, then we will postpone proceeding with him and meet the people who've applied.
Yes, because if
If
someone has
or-
made an effort to apply, they deserve the courtesy of an interview and a consideration.
Well, couldn't we have the interview on the 11th? If they submit their application and then show up for the meeting.
So I would, in the advertisement then, say interviews will take place
On
on
the
X
11th.
date,
Right.
because otherwise, people need to be available.
Right,
If you're gonna, honestly, if you're gonna do that, I think this, if you're worried about transparency, I think this looks worse than having the vote have the applications come in by the 11th, we review them on the 11th, and we interview people on the 25th. If we get none on the 11th, then we proceed with the person who's put himself forward.
okay. I will go with whichever way the board feels is most transparent, because I have no concern about waiting until, or sending our recommendation up until later on in the month.
Okay,
So,
That's
how do
fine.
we want to do it? Have people submit their resumes by the 11th?
by close of the business on the 11th,
Right,
we can look at them as a group if we get any, and then decide when we're available to do interviews, et cetera, and determine follow-up.
okay.
And in the event that we get none, we can
Make a recommendation.
make a
that way.
recommendation on the 11th.
Yes.
So then potentially by April, we will be back to a full quorum.
Yeah.
Or a full seated board.
Okay,
What's next?
sounds like a plan.
You'll do that?
Yes, I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay. Next is the design standard proposal.
Okay, so I quickly pulled together, I sent everybody a copy of her estimate. I did a draft.
Yeah, so what do you think about as far as?
Oh,
the
so I had
figures?
a conversation with her, and she said, I was very frank with her and said, this is what we have, but we're concerned about it not being enough for the actual project. And she said, the hard part, from her perspective and the kind of work she does, the part that will require the most thought is setting the standard, the design
template.
standard, the template for the document.
Right,
Yeah.
And once we agree on that, she said it's, dropping text in and out isn't a problem, and she feels comfortable with the amount of time she's estimated per page.
okay,
I did speak with Michelle, the treasurer, about this. We have $3,200 in the budget right now. We do have to expend that $3,200 is allocated for this year. So her recommendation was that we get as much done as we can by the 31st, and that she bills a bill for X percent done and Y percent done, and use as much as we can before the end of the fiscal year, and then request a contingency. And she and Fran was in the office when I was having the conversation as well, they both recommended that we ask a little higher, because they'd rather that we have too much than too little. So they recommended that we ask for a $2,000 contingency, and
Okay.
that way we have it kicking around if we need it.
Which would be good too, because this contract doesn't include any printing.
Right, and when we get to, I did pull together a budget for us to go, a budget request, we have to put a budget request in at the same time. So I tried to accommodate for that,
For our budget
Printing.
for the year?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we can do that next, but I guess the first thing is, were you comfortable with what she sent? Are you feeling good about her?
Yeah, I mean, I felt comfortable about her. She seemed like she knew what she was doing. And if she thinks that $3,000 is fun, then we've asked the question. It's not like we're bulldozing her into going low. And so I feel comfortable with.
She also
the-
said
And
that
she
she
reduced
would-
the rate by $1 a page, so it's not like it's.
She also said that she is interested in adding a municipal project to her portfolio.
Right.
So,
Okay,
so there's a cover memo there. Do you wanna, I can send it to you electronically if you wanna send it, or we can just drop it in Dave's box tonight, if everybody feels good about it.
In your discussion with her, did she make any indication as to her availability?
She's available. She views this as sort of a small potatoes project
Right.
that she can
But-
drop in and out of, and she's aware that
I'm aware that she's available now, but
Uh-huh.
if it takes us, however long it takes us to actually get the material to us, will she still be available?
Oh, yes, we did have that discussion when she came in, that
Yeah.
we have some work to do, and she just said, fine, let me know when you're ready.
Do when you do it. Okay.
Should we
Give
drop
it to
that in the
Dave.
mailbox?
Yes,
Okay,
give it to
so
Dave.
that item is done. And you understand what Michelle communicated about the billing process, right? Okay, so that's done, what's next? No.
No, there's more. Oh, the budget request.
So I took, when I was meeting with Michelle about this, she said, please, you guys always do so much more work than you need to do with the budget request. Don't worry about estimating revenue. I can analyze fees that have come in. I'll deal with revenue. You just tell us what you think you are going to spend. And we need to ask for two chunks. We need to ask for now through the end of the fiscal year, and then for the next fiscal year. So they know how much, when they're moving around contingencies,
Mhm.
they know what they've got, what they need to reserve for us. So I took last year's document. Oh, looks like I didn't save much. This is the new one. This is last year's, and this is this year's. If you want, I can go make a copy so you can read them independently. We had a lot more detail in last year's request than we have in this year's. Oh, and can I,
Well, the personal services that's something that's Michael.
that's Michael. This is the old one. This is last year's. I just brought it in case you wanted to see what we asked for in the year prior. This year, I moved the narrative up. I dropped out the revenue portion and went straight to expenses, which are here. Michael, what I didn't know, I estimated 5 hours per meeting for you again, for an hour of prep and an hour of upload. And is that still?
3 hours for meeting and
Yeah,
2 hours for video.
yeah, that's cool. Okay.
8 meetings,
Oop, it should be.
should be 12.
Well, no, we did, last year we said 2 meetings a month plus an additional 4.
16.
16, it should say. Oh, this is through May, through March,
Okay.
so that's correct. On the other side, go ahead.
On the other side is the continuation.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, we have personal services, the postage, and the attorney general, the estimated fees.
Has your fee changed? Okay, so we can
Well,
leave that.
and in reality, it would be something that Michelle would know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, even if we've got it a little bit off, she can
Right.
adjust it.
Oh, okay, I see. So this is the contingency.
For her, and then any printing that we don't get done in May.
Okay. So we have to use this money by the end of May.
And
And
in,
then
in the
this
case that we
money-
don't, we've got some extra padding here.
But this is for all of,
This is for the whole, it's a 12-month, it's not a calendar year, it's a fiscal year.
okay,
So they're basically asking us, let's make sure that we can finish out the year as you projected
right,
through May,
mm-hmm,
and then let us know what your next fiscal year looks like. We didn't have nearly as many meetings because we didn't have seeker, and we didn't
Mhm.
have, that really cut down our meetings a lot.
right.
It boosted them up a lot and then it dropped, and then we dropped.
Okay, and there's nothing else coming up then in the 2020/2021 that we would need?
The
money
only
for?
big project that's outstanding is, I mean, there can always be someone doing a major addition on a house that requires work. We've got a ton of referrals right now and none of the applications are in.
Right,
So I think we're gonna be really busy in April and May, potentially in March. But I have no idea what's coming.
I'm thinking of, like, you know, like the design standards, anything like that,
But for
out of the
those,
ordinary.
Michael doesn't sit and record those.
No, I know, I'm thinking about this, like, this type of thing,
Okay.
non-annual expense,
Other
Oh.
kind of big, yeah.
but there isn't really anything that,
Well, actually, I guess one of the things which we may want to think about is that they had sent around, or SHPO had sent around a
A training.
training.
That was actually the Preservation League.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Put in a bit for some folks to attend.
yeah, or at least, for two people.
but that's part, you're talking about the camp training,
Yeah.
but is that part of the, state conference?
No, it's Preservation League of New York State.
But they host the state conference.
But it's specific.
No, SHPO doesn't.
No, Preservation League does.
This is
SHPO's not allowed to.
It's a 2-day. Maybe it is the same. Al just sent around an email about it.
Christina Hingle.
Oh, this is in Newburgh.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
okay.
regional one.
Yeah,
There are 3 one-day sessions, I think,
right.
in different locations.
White Plains, Sag Harbor, Newburgh. Okay. And is this, do you have to actually pay for these?
Well, that's what I'm looking at right now.
Because when I went, let me look.
It'd be good for whoever is the new person
Yeah.
to go
Yeah.
as an onboarding process.
Well, so when I went to when I did it, it was at the State Preservation Conference, which is between Albany and the West Coast, every other year.
So last year was 2 years ago. It was Albany.
I guess, yeah, so maybe this year it'd be
This would
Albany
be
too.
away again.
But it is, oh no, you do have to pay for this. $30 registration fee to secure your spot.
And do you remember roughly what the cost was for the Albany, for the
Free.
the state conference? It was free.
It was
no registration fee?
No, because if you registered for camp, I mean, maybe there was a limited number of seats,
Mm-hmm.
but if you registered for camp, you got to go to the training and you got to attend the whole conference for free.
Oh, all right.
But I don't know.
So, Al, when you have put in requests for conferences in the past, do you request registration and accommodation?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, if it was a one-day conference, then no.
Right.
Because basically you drive
You
up
travel.
and then just
Yeah.
drive back.
Unless it's in Buffalo.
Yeah,
But if it's in Buffalo, you just don't go.
and you take the train.
Oh.
That way you're not driving.
Maybe.
But I think that, for budgeting purposes, we should probably, assume that if if lodging is required, then, I think we should pay for it.
So why don't we request for 2 members to go,
Okay,
or 3?
but I have one other question. So
Yeah.
is this, this is May 31st?
Yeah.
Okay. So these 3 local ones are going to happen before May 31st. So they
What's
would
the
have to
date?
come out of, well, depends if you wanna do,
May.
Well, roughly.
if you do.
Well, there's 3 days next to each other, 4, 7, and 8.
But you only would have to go to one of them.
Right,
And they're all
And-
day trainings.
And the 4th is in Sag Harbor. So I would say it'd be either the 7th or the 8th.
right.
Which
It's
is
either
White Plains or Newburgh. And those are $30 each.
So since it's such a low price tag and it's not an overnight accommodation, why don't we ask if we can all go? I mean, I don't know if everybody would be able to go, but it'd be great if we could all
Yeah.
do an update training.
Sure. 7th is the 8th is Friday. That's the one in Newburgh is on Friday.
I'd much rather do that than go to White Plains.
So again, that would be then $120.
Well, 5 of us.
Oh, sorry, $150.
Yeah. In the
but-
March through May section.
In the March through May section. Let me look up the 2020. Okay. I might be wrong. It might be Landmarks. Landmark West that hosts the state conference. But it's not SHPO.
I guess because the invitation always comes from the CLG office, I made the
Yeah.
assumption.
Okay, it's the Landmark Society that hosts it.
Okay.
I think also because SHPO probably isn't allowed to. And
I thought
Well,
that was
when does this need to be in? Soon? I mean, the question is that if we,
The 21st, I think it's late.
I'm just looking to see what the dates of these things are, because if any of these things are things that anybody wants to pursue, then we should
Yeah.
just see if it's a
because the other thing
2019 or
is
2020 budget item.
that, what's her name? Linda
Could
Mackey.
be literally anything. Oh, yeah, Linda Mackey.
She had mentioned that when they were offering scholarships for,
I feel like that was a much more expensive conference, though. I feel like
yeah,
it was $300.
well, it was. I think it was actually a registration fee.
Well, the National Trust Conference is in Miami this year.
That's
Okay.
exciting.
That would be a 2020/2021 expense. That's in October.
March
Well, the
26th,
AIA
2020
conference is
New York
in Los
State.
Angeles.
In 2020 New York
Oh.
Statewide Preservation Conference is March 26th to 28th.
March 26th to 28th. Oh, so that's what
So that would
I
be
believe.
now. And it is, yeah, that's the scholarship recipient one. Preserving Value Through Incremental Development, presented by the Incremental Development Alliance. Actually, this looks pretty
Alright.
interesting.
Is it in
that's-
Albany or is it in
I'm
Rochester?
trying to figure out where it is. Hang on. I love that this is how they send it out. Like they take their folded brochure and send
Yep.
it like this, so you have to read it.
One big piece. Good luck printing it down there.
I need to get readers. Syracuse.
It's in Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I don't want to go to Syracuse, but
Yeah, I might like to go to that though.
and are they doing?
So it's 105, or we've missed early bird. That was, oh no, deadline March 3rd. 105 for early bird, 125 for general, and $135
When
for
is
late.
it?
Just to attend?
March 20, yeah. Conference registration includes Thursday workshop, pre-conference workshop, opening night cocktails and conversation, Friday sessions, lunch, keynote and preservation partners party, and Saturday field sessions.
Why don't we, skip it for this year, but put it in the budget for next year? Come up with a dollar amount and say, this is what we,
Well, if we could go, if some of us go to camp, then we've got something for this year,
right,
and then next year,
right,
include the request for state conference.
right.
And for how many people?
Let's say 2 people.
2 people, let's assume that it's gonna be about the same, let's say
Right.
$120 for the cost, and depending on where it is, if you need,
Well, if
Well,
it's,
it'll be in Albany.
if it's gonna be in Albany, then you're gonna need to stay someplace.
Yeah, because it's actually 3 days. I just only went to 1 day last year.
Because
So-
I do remember
nights.
one time we went up over there, but my daughter lives in Albany, so I stayed at her place.
so
But-
what do you think we should put as a dollar amount for accommodation? Like $150 a night?
150 a night, but per person?
Depends on who you're bunking with.
Exactly.
Yeah, so 120 for admission, 300 for accommodation, 2 people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds fine.
Excellent.
And then, obviously, we'll see if we go and who actually goes. I would stay with my parents probably.
So how about if I revise this and send it around again,
Okay.
and I'll include text about training up here, and then we can send it to Michelle.
But if you want to go to this thing in Syracuse, then add it.
Well, if we're gonna spend the money for a local one, I'll do the local one, and then, I don't know, we'll see, maybe I'll go to Syracuse, I don't know.
Okay.
Figure that out on my own. Okay, what else is,
Crafting a future for modernism.
What else is on the agenda?
Discussion design standards work plan.
so my question for you, Sean, I sent you an updated copy, is
Yes.
now, since you're home for a little bit,
Uh-huh.
we need to start collecting photographs,
Okay.
things that need to be shot around the village. I don't know how you're feeling about photographing buildings, but I wondered if you wanted to be the lead.
Yeah, I can do it.
Awesome.
Do we have a list?
No, that's what we need to do next, is go through and identify, and we know we need examples in the style section, but
Mhm.
we need to go back through the text and see what images we have that we want to potentially reuse from
Okay.
the first draft versus what we've made reference to, insert picture here kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn had wanted, at the end of our last workshop, or maybe the next one, I don't know, she was talking about the fact that she had read the whole document and was getting the sense that it felt too academic. In addition to, obviously, small things that would need to be done to make it seem as if it's one voice and not 5 of us writing it.
Mm-hmm.
She felt that the document, after some time away from it and coming back, was perhaps too long and a bit too lofty.
Okay.
And so I wonder if it would be useful to ask her to sort of make specific recommendations based on that.
Yeah, I think, I was going through my computer files and I found this document that I remember I sent around to everybody. And basically, any new person that came on the board, and basically talked about the design guidelines. And one of the things that they did in fact say, because I skimmed through the article again, it said to try and not make it too hard to read.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, tone it down and gear it towards somebody who's really unfamiliar with the process and they're trying to learn.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is I'll send that around to everybody again, so, it's worth looking at, but I agree, I think that, and maybe, that may be the one thing that she can do, which would, as long as she has that frame of mind, I think she would be a good person to actually try and do that. Put it into one voice and make it as user-friendly as possible.
So do you want, in the first instance, to say, would you please, it would be useful to me to have her summarize her general observations about where she thought places should be tightened, et cetera, and then,
No, why don't we just turn our loose on it? Just say, what you had suggested really makes a lot of sense. Can you go ahead and take a look at it, at the document as a whole, and try and clean up how it's.
so there were two bits there. One was making it a single voice, and the second piece was simplifying and making it appear less, or feel less academic.
Well, I don't know. I think that in simplifying it, what you should focus on is making it more usable, whether it's academic or not. That's, I think besides the point, I think it's.
Well, I think that's what she means by.
Yeah, it needs to be
academic to
user-friendly.
Right.
So.
But also, I mean, isn't that something that's gonna be sort of like alleviated a bit with the actual design
I think
layout
so too. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that anything we've put in here is like particularly dense. I think it has the appearance of being dense because we're looking at it in a Word document with nothing breaking it up. Your eye isn't able to bounce from topic to topic as you're looking for what it is that you're looking for. I don't know whether, I mean, a lot of these things that we've called out as being text boxes or, details of photographs. Maybe I have a high tolerance for.
Well, the thing is that why don't we let Carolyn take the first shot at it? Because ultimately, what's the woman that we're hiring?
Kirsten?
Huh?
Kirsten?
Yeah. Ultimately, with Kirsten, what we need to do is give her the text and some indication of what images should go along with it. And then she can put it all together. But I think ultimately, what the content needs to be our product. And so I think that let Carolyn give it the first shot, and then we can take a look at it and see if she's gone too far. Is it too simple? And I don't think that that's going to be the case, but I think that
Hi.
I think it's at this point we need to get going with it, and I think that let's turn her loose.
Okay.
You good with that?
Yeah, I don't want us to be in a position where this entire thing is getting rewritten because somebody has decided to look at it again, and that is my concern. I think that the further and further we get away from seeing this in the format that it was presented to us by Stephanie and Steve, it still just remains in this boundless, amorphous, abstract ball, and isn't something that is like bound by structure and pages and some format to it. So I could very well see us spending, whether as a group or as individuals, another couple of weeks reviewing this and making all these edits and everything else, and then we actually see it in the layout and we realize that most sections are way too long and most sections aren't long enough, and it just and then we kind of are doing it again.
There's part of me that would like to, which is why I was saying I'd like to hear what her overall thoughts and recommendations are, because I find, well, let me set that aside. I would like to see, once Kirsten has some templates proposed, I'd like to see what we have right now, recognizing that there's gonna be placeholders for images. I'd like to see the version that we have now laid out roughly and bounded a bit before we start hacking out large chunks.
Here's the only thing that concerns me, is that number that she gave us, that assumes that she's going to be given some text, a rough idea of the format, and she goes and cranks out the document. I think the more back and forth that we have, it's gonna eat up her time.
Yeah, well, it's 3 reviews. It includes three rounds of client revisions.
Okay, well, I think that, you know, just from what I have seen before, we're gonna wind up using up all of those 3. I think
Well,
that,
those are the 3 that are allotted to us, but we could go through this process that you're proposing and still end up using all 3 of them.
Yes.
So wouldn't it make more sense for us to continue to add what needs to be added, that we know needs to be added, spell check it, and send it to her, and then the first review will be of the formatted document, and then we can make changes to that
And we
for the
have a
second
goal.
and third review. She's
Alright.
not telling us that we're getting 3 reviews of the document, not of the templates.
Mhm.
She's showing us the templates, we're approving the templates, she's inputting all the
all right,
information.
but we're talking about Carolyn's review. That's what we started the conversation with. And you said that you wanted it formatted before we actually do another review. And my feeling is that, you know, I think Carolyn has been down this road before, that let's give it a shot, let's see what she produces, and then take it from there. If at that point we all sit there and say, well, what we need to do is see what the images are look like, and maybe what we do is we ask Carolyn to put in a box where you think an image would be. And it doesn't have to be the image, but it could be a box.
We've got notations for images. I don't necessarily, we don't need to ask her to do that. I think that her thinking was, she felt that it was too long and fancy pants, and that she felt that there were a number of places that it became too, I'm having a hard time thinking of the word, ministerial. Where we had prescribed so tightly that we left too few options for the discretion that we should have, because we were prescribing so tightly what it is that we expect of people. I am a little bit afraid to say, go ahead, take the document and make something new, as Sean said, and get really far from where we have been. How would you feel about saying, can you show us the recommendations you make for this section first, to see the direction she's gonna take before we have her spend time on the whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's really no reason why we can't sit there and say, all right, you know, we accept what you're saying, Carolyn. You know, go ahead and start working on it, and you know, let's periodically meet, and you can show us what you're doing.
Okay.
I
would rather do a section and say, give us a sense of the direction that you want to go.
Okay, but I think, you know, my concern is that I think she is gonna have time available. I would like to get her started on it, just to make sure that we maintain some, motion on this.
And recognizing that we will, what I hope that you're saying is recognizing that we will come back as a group and decide which of these recommendations we accept and which we don't.
Okay, I mean, you know, I think that if what you're suggesting is to have a little bit greater clarity, okay, let's do that. Let's say, okay, we agree with what you're saying. Why don't you do one section? Let's sit down, go over it, and we'll take a look and see if everybody's on board as far as the changes
The
that you're
direction.
proposing.
How do you feel about that?
Fine. We can do that.
You don't seem fine with that.
Because I'm not convinced it's gonna be valuable, but let's just do it, and then we'll see, and then
Well,
move forward.
what would be the alternative? I mean, I'm not sure.
I think that it's definitely worth it's definitely worth reading the whole thing and looking for typos and making sure that everything's covered. Giving somebody the directive of look at this document and make it better, or like make it less of what we don't want it to be. We have spent so much time on this thing, and every single word in here has already been litigated by 5 people multiple times. I don't see how this is
Well,
furthering the discourse. I mean, this is really just taking something that we have all looked at and reviewed and agreed to, in some cases begrudgingly, and now making it the responsibility of one person to unify the thought.
And
But-
I worry
And I
about,
don't
But-
necessarily think that it's an ununified thought. I mean, I think that it.
I think that I have seen a lot of, for example, proposals. I mean, they generate a hell of a lot of proposals in our office, and it's the same sort of thing. You get 3 or 4 different people. Everybody contributes a certain portion, but then in the end, somebody has to go through and has to, because everybody has different way of saying things. And what we have, particularly in this document, we had different people working on different pieces. And so what we have is we have a collage of this document. And I think somebody does need to go through it. And, you know, I think Carolyn was part of the process, so I think she understands that. And if we need to, a reminder or reinforce that, you know, there were a lot of compromises that were made. But I think that it's not, we're not saying to her, oh, here, go ahead and fix this up. She has identified certain issues that she thought should be
right, but
addressed.
what I'm saying is we've not actually had a full conversation about the issues that she thinks
Agreed.
she's identified. And so
let's-
before we turn over a document and say, make it new,
Well, I already agreed, you know, I think that, let's say that, yes, we think this is a good idea. Can you take one section and do what you're proposing, and let's sit down and discuss it amongst all the board members? And at least then we'll have some idea of what it is that she's proposing. I mean, I would like to move it forward, because the alternative is to take the document, turn it over to Kirsten, and I think that in the end, that is going to be a little bit more difficult and more time consuming for her, and I think that I would rather not impose on her.
I agree that it needs to have some more work before it goes to her. What I am not comfortable with at this point, because sections are going to be used in different ways than others, and we built some repetition into the document purposefully, so that if you were someone flipping to a certain section, you'd get some information there, some information there. One of the things that she points out is repetition in the document. That's one of those items, as Sean described, that once laid out visually, one recognizes that it is purposeful. And when it's just text in a Word document, it's easy to go, oh, yeah, we already said that, let's take this out. But seeing it in its section, maybe an interim step, if I might suggest something, is taking the document that we have and inserting section dividers so that it's not one long continuous document. Obviously, that's gonna make it bigger than it really is, but then you see you examine individual sections somewhat visually. As a first step, so we are more familiar with the structure of each section as its own unit. Make comparisons there and then consider next pulling large chunks out. That would help me visually organize my own brain around what we're looking at. I don't know if that'd be useful for anyone else.
Well, I'm not sure that we're talking about pulling stuff out wholesale. I mean, from what I heard you say that she told you is just sort of simplifying it.
That's part, but there are sections that I think that there need to be conversations about, in particular, things like contributing and non-contributing.
So let's have those conversations.
Okay, so when are we,
Why don't you talk with her and see when she can, get something that she can show us and that we can discuss.
okay. Do we wanna try to set any kind of timeline?
Well, I think that ultimately what we have found works best is on a weekend, rather than trying to.
Right, no, but I mean, like today's the,
Today's the 26th. We
aim for 2 weeks, mid-March.
Okay, let's try that in March 15th.
Yeah, is there any way that we could do it either the 8th or the 22nd? Because specifically
Sure.
the 15th, I have something else due on the 16th, so
22nd.
the 22nd. So between now and the 22nd, we will ask her to put
22nd
together
or
her thoughts.
23rd?
That, I think that,
Oh, that's
I
February.
think that is the first step.
I'm sorry,
The 22nd is Sunday.
is Sunday. I was looking at that.
Did you talk to Tilly or talk to
I-
Watson?
I haven't talked to Tilly, I mean, there were two conversations that we were talking about proposing to Tilly. One is that he bite the bullet and get some intern to do it for the fee that we have available.
No.
Well,
We're beyond that, though.
let me
Okay.
finish. So that was one conversation that we had talked about talking with Tilly, but I don't think that that's a viable option.
I think we're well beyond that.
Yeah. So it's basically we have a person. We're gonna have Kirsten do the work, and what I need to do is I need to find out the format of the files that they have.
She gave you, I don't wanna dig through it right now, but she gave you a particular question to ask about a format for the file to ask for. The larger question was
Right.
the issue of the ownership of the images, and if he would be willing for documents that he generated to grant us permission to use those documents in a format that we produce, if he is credited. Recall like the hand drawings, some of the hand drawings that are in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, the way that I was going to present that to him was say, Steve, you know, these are all, you know, images that we are going to be using. Do you have any objection to that? And I'm not going to ask him for permission.
You're gonna tell him.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell him that this is the way that we're gonna do this, and if you have any objections, let me know right now, otherwise. You know, because what she had asked was that she wanted files with all of the images loaded, you know, having all of the various different photographs and documentation.
I'm trying to find that, there was a specific, here's my folder.
Oh,
There was a specific, way she phrased it.
phrased it.
Oh, here, February 28th is the deadline for the, Friday is the deadline for the budget,
Okay.
so we have time to make a quick fix. Then she would packaged native files.
Put it on Tilly notes. Packaged,
Native files.
okay.
Are we
Do I have a motion?
so moved? Adjourn?
To adjourn?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, I'm into it.
Second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Done,
See,
done, done,
That
done.
wasn't so difficult.
Okay, let me hold back one copy of those to stay here. Actually, so I don't have to write the folder again.